The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. I, of course, am your Commander-in-Chief, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. So, interesting development today. Washington Commanders sign wide receiver Michael Gallup to a one-year league minimum contract. So not a huge investment here. Didn't think it would be if he did ultimately sign here. They met with him last week, as we all know. He left without a deal, went to Seattle, had a meeting with the Seahawks, ultimately decided to come here to Washington to start the second chapter of his NFL career. Remember, he retired after he was released by the Dallas Cowboys after the 2023 season. The Raiders signed him. He retired, never played it down for the Raiders. And so here we are after being out of football for 1 year, back in the game. And he had a press conference today as well. So we will discuss what was said there. I was going to jump on immediately after his presser. And then Deebo Samuel had a press conference. So I really wanted to hear what he had to say before I jumped on. We'll talk about what he had to say a little bit later on in the show. We still will be live later on tonight, and I apologize for interrupting your March Madness viewing. I was watching it too. There haven't been any really good games to this point. Anyhow, Purdue and High Point was probably the best game thus far, and that got as close as 2 points with about 5 minutes left, and then Purdue pushed that lead back out and won comfortably. So nothing really to see there anyway, so we're really not interrupting anything as of right now. I know Montana was putting up a fight at one point against Wisconsin, but I don't, they've pushed that out to 11. So I don't really see anything coming down to the last second. So we're comfortable and we're good for now. That said, let's talk about Michael Gallup and his signing here to Washington. I've talked about the wide receiver position. It's an intriguing position to say the least. It is definitely better talent-wise than it was a season ago. Now we'll see what the production ultimately looks like and if they decide to do anything else with the position. One thing Adam Peters has done throughout his career here in Washington, and it's been a very brief period, now a year and a half, and we'll see what happens with his second draft. We've seen his second free agency now almost in the books. He's positioned us for the draft in each of the first 2 years by making sure we didn't go into the draft with glaring needs like, oh, we have to get this. We still feel like we need an edge rusher. They may still sign a guy in free agency. We've got space. Again, I've been giving you the count. We're now at 74 players. There's still 16 roster spots available. We're not going to draft 16 players. So as you could imagine, they're still going to add more veterans. There's still veteran defensive ends that we think could potentially get to the quarterback, still available. And I wouldn't be shocked to see them sign one like a Zadarius Smith, like a Matthew Judon. There are plenty of options still available with veteran defensive ends that I could see them inking a deal with, a one-year contract with, and then, you don't go into the draft with that, oh, we got to have a defensive end, even though I still think we got to have a defensive end at some point. But receiver was one of those positions where I said, hey, there's only 5 right now on the roster that, you consider not necessarily locks, but damn near locks, right? With the, Terry's a lock, Deebo's a lock, Luke McCaffrey's a lock, right? So that's 3 guys, right? They brought back KJ Osborne. He's not a lock by any stretch of the imagination, but he'd be here before any of the other guys that are on the practice squad or, anybody else that you could really think of that's still here. Noah Brown I'd say he's closer to a lock than anybody else. Those 4 right there, you could pencil them in as guys that are on this roster at the receiver position. Then you have KJ Osborne, and then there was a 6th spot. I think they're going to keep 6. They kept 6 last year. I think that's the magic number again this year. And so I said, well, that's the space for a rookie wide receiver. And we all started to fantasize about, guys with some size, maybe a guy with maybe guys with some speed, right? Maybe you could get the package to be as one, right? A guy with some height and some speed. But Maybe with this acquisition, there is no wide receiver coming. And again, I don't think this rules you out of taking a receiver, because nobody's sitting here as a Commanders fan is saying, well, they got KJ Osborne, so we can't take a receiver. Or, well, we got Michael Gallup, so we can't take a receiver in the draft. If they love a receiver sitting there at 61 and they don't love the value at corner, and let's say they already took edge rusher at 29, or let's say they traded back and they already took care of edge rusher in the second round with one of the picks that they have that they traded back and acquired. And so they don't need another edge rusher. They don't love the value at corner at 61, and there's a receiver that they absolutely love. What's stopping them from taking that guy, or running back for that matter, right? Whatever the case may be. I don't think this necessarily precludes the Commanders from taking a wide receiver, but it makes it less likely that they feel compelled to do so. And again, it gives them options. If they don't take a receiver, this is not a great receiver draft class. It's a solid receiver draft class from a talent perspective. It's deep, but there's no like elite, like the fact that in the first round, we're debating on who the first receiver taken is going to be. Is it going to be Tet? Is it going to be Matthew Golden? Is it going to be Smith and Jig? But like the fact that there's even a conversation that exists tells you this draft, I'm going to be honest with you, feels a lot like that 20, I want to say it was 2016 draft. The John Ross, Corey Davis, what's my man from Notre Dame? Fuller the fourth. I want to say it was Fuller, and then we took Josh Doxson. Like this draft kind of feels like that. And if you say, okay, that's kind of harsh, Louie. Okay, fine. Then this draft feels a lot like the 2019 draft then, or the 2020 draft with CeeDee Lamb and Henry Ruggs, and I think there was one more receiver that might have went in the first round. I think it might have been Waddle. I think Ruggs and Waddle were in that same draft class along with CeeDee Lamb, if I'm not mistaken. So it feels like that one, where that one wasn't bad, right? But, there were no elite guys necessarily that coming out. Now, CeeDee Lamb obviously emerged as such, and Waddle's really good if he was in that draft. I believe they were in the same draft. And that was 2020, if I'm not mistaken. So, again, we'll see what they decide to do with the receiver position. But let's talk about Michael Gallup quickly and get to, what this addition actually means and what it looks like. So if you're a Commanders fan and you've been a fan for a decade, then Michael Gallup. He used to torch us when he was with Dallas. He used to have some of his better games against us. And when he was at the peak of his superpowers, he was a really good NFL wide receiver, so much so the Cowboys thought that it was a good idea to move on from Amari Cooper and give him the long-term extension instead of Amari Cooper, which was a big mistake. But they had that much confidence in Michael Gallup to do that. However, there were a number of factors that kind of led to his declining production. The peak of his NFL career came in his second year. He was drafted in 2018. 2019, I believe he had over 1,000 yards. As a matter of fact, I think he had over 1,100 yards in that 2019 season. That's when he really started to emerge as a big-time wide receiver in this league. He followed that up with an 800-yard season in 2020. But you could see that the target shares were starting to go away from him. Remember, in 2020, they had Amari Cooper, that was rookie CeeDee Lamb, and Michael Gallup. Their wide receiving core was loaded in 2020. Same for 2021. They were all there, but by then, CeeDee Lamb started to emerge as the top target there. Cooper was still there, although he was on his way out. And then Gallup tore his ACL at the end of that 2021 season. He was never the same player after that. Really struggled to get back to the level that he was once at. Cowboys moved on from him in 2023. And then he signed with the Raiders, but then decided that he did not want to play football. So he was out of football in 2024. Now he's back in the league here with the Washington Commanders. So that's Michael Gallup in a nutshell. A really solid receiver. The question is, who are you getting? Are you getting pre-injury Michael Gallup or post-injury Michael Gallup? He's 29, so it's not like he's some old curmudgeon that can't move and can't play. And with him sitting out last year, it's almost like I liken it to Zach Ertz. Remember, when we got Ertz last year, he really didn't play the year before in the NFL. So it's almost like you were getting a rejuvenated, refreshed, football player. And Gallup is 4 years younger than Zach Ertz was last year. So you're getting a guy that still should have fresh legs. And if he's highly motivated, this is a good football player, right? Again, the reason that he gave, so let's get into his press conference. The reason that he gave for not playing football was, honestly, look, who am I to say what a guy should or shouldn't do and what your reasoning is for not playing or playing? All right. But and generally guys don't get into what drove them to retire. He probably was better off just not telling us, because the reason he gave us was some bullshit. I'm just going to be honest with you. It sounded like, some hurt feelings. I'm going to take my ball and go home type bullshit. Like, this is some shit I expect my 10-year-old to say or my 12-year-old to say. I don't expect a grown man to be like, well, the way I got released from, the team I was with, but you could have just said Dallas. We know where the hell you came from. But he's like, the way I got released from the team I came from, and I just got into, almost like he was in a long-term relationship. This is exactly the analogy. He was in a long-term relationship, and instead of him taking time to that relationship, figure out what went wrong, what he could have done better, and kind of heal, allowed himself to heal, the time to heal, he jumped into another relationship on some rebound shit, and it just wasn't right. Right? He's like, yeah, the way I got released from, the team where I was at, it just, it was unexpected. It was kind of sudden. I didn't know how to handle it. It was the first time it had ever happened to me. And I got into the next, situation too quickly. And I just wasn't in the right headspace. Okay. All right. Look, again, to each its own. We always hear guys talk about the NFL and it being a business. And that's cliche, because I don't give a shit who you are. Business is bullshit, because people take business personal in the NFL and in sports in general. We're humans, right? These guys are humans. People take things personally, and I don't blame them a lot of the time, because it's hard when I feel like I've given you my blood, sweat, and tears, and then all of a sudden you tell me it's not good enough. Yeah, you're damn right I'm going to take that personal. And a lot of guys do take it personal. And the guys that can compartmentalize and not take it personal, they're awesome, because most guys do take it personal, even if they say it's a business and I'm not taking it personal. That's bullshit. That's why when they get to play their former team, it means a little bit more to them. Of course it does, because you took the shit personal. And it must have rocked him when the Cowboys cut him loose and he had to find work, and he, went to the only team he ever knew was the Cowboys. And now he's playing for the Vegas Raiders. And he's like, what the hell am I doing here? This isn't right. I don't want to play football anymore. So took a year off, and here he is with the Commanders. I honestly didn't think they were going to sign him, because I felt like if they were going to sign him, when they met with him, they would have inked the deal then. But one thing I can say about this group is they do their due diligence. They don't force anything. And what Adam Peters has shown me throughout this process, now that we've seen him for 2 years in action, is that he sets a hard line, right? He draws a line in the sand. And if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And one thing we can say about our general manager is he ain't falling for shit. We saw it in the Commander's Log video last year with the draft, when Howie Roseman tried to hoodwink him. And he was like, come on, bro, stop playing with me. All right, stop playing. Stop playing on my top. You know what this is. Pause. Like, we already discussed what the numbers are, what picks are going where. Stop playing with me, right? And we saw it, I think, with free agency again this year with, Jeremy Chin. I think they had a number with Dante Fowler Jr. I think they had a number. And once those guys exceeded the number that they were comfortable paying them, they was like, bro, if you don't like the number and the contract I'm putting in front of you, you are free to go explore other options. But this is the number. This is what's on the table, and it's not changing. You can either get it here for this number, or you can find, work elsewhere. It's up to you. I'm not going to twist your arm. And clearly Dante Fowler Jr. felt offended by the number that was offered to him because he went to social media to voice his frustrations and then ended up signing with the enemy, right? Going back to where he was, prior to coming here on a 1-year, $8 million deal. So clearly that was about money. Same thing with Jeremy Chin. And then you see how much they ended up spending at the safety position to replace him. 2 years, $8 million. And he got a 2-year, $16 million deal. So clearly they did not feel like Jeremy Chin was worth $8 million a year. Same thing that Dante Fowler Jr. ultimately got in Dallas. So they've set hard lines, right? They've drawn lines in the sand, said this is what we're paying. And they might have done the same thing to Michael Gallup. Like, hey, this is what we're going to offer you. If you want to play here, you're getting a vet minimum, bro. And he was like, all right, bet. That's cool. I know where y'all stand. I'm going to go out here, see what Seattle talking about, kind of make my rounds, see what else everybody else is talking about. And if nobody else is talking anything that sounds good to me, because I know DQ, I know what environment he's going to cultivate here. I know the quarterback that y'all got is going to be special. So I already see what y'all got going on here. So I really want to be a part of that. But if I can get some more money somewhere else, I got to do what I got to do. So obviously he went out, tested the market, visited the Seahawks, and ultimately came back and said, if I'm going to take the league minimum, because Seattle's probably offering him something similar, I might as well do it with a guy that I'm comfortable with in DQ. He talked about DQ in his presser, talked about DQ caring about him, even though DQ was a defensive coordinator in Dallas. DQ was constantly checking on him when he tore his ACL, et cetera, et cetera. And that's not the first time we heard about that. Remember, DQ did the same thing for F.A. Obata. And it's one thing to do it with the guy that's on your team. Michael Gallup was in Dallas while DQ was there from 2021 to 2023. DQ was in Dallas for those 3 years. Michael Gallup was there the entire time as well. He tore his ACL in DQ's first year, and DQ was checking on him to make sure he was good. He did the same thing for FA, but FA played for us, and DQ was in Dallas, and he was checking on FA to make sure he was okay when he broke his ankle. So again, DQ and that care factor, it resonates with people. Part of the reason why Gallup's here, he's like, also DQ was coaching the Falcons. Gallup is from, he said, Georgia, and so they would always have some discussions about that, going back and forth, things of that nature. So sounds like they have a really good relationship, and he's like excited to come here, play with Jaden, who wouldn't be. And so now the question for me is, what does this mean for the wide receiver room? Because now you got 6. And I'm going to be honest with you, it feels like they're not going to do anything in the draft. And again, we only got 5 picks. There's only so much you can get done. Like, how I feel. I don't really give a shit about the 6th and the 7th round pick. You can take a receiver back there if you want. I'm not expecting anything from a 6th or a 7th round receiver. I'll leave that to you guys if you're expecting something from an undrafted receiver. Like last year, y'all tried to sell me on the Georgia receiver, Jack Saint, or whatever the hell his name was. And I was like, man, get out of my face with that bullshit. And then he made the one-hand catch, and I was like, he's still an undrafted, guy that can't move, period. That's how I felt about him. It is what it is. Like, I'm not going to overinvest my time in, late round draft picks and undrafted guys. They have a shot. Because if you get to this point, if a team spends a draft pick on you, if a team gives you, makes you a priority free agent, they saw enough in you to bring you here, spend money on you. But the guys that they truly invest in are the guys that they draft in the first 4 rounds. Anybody after, which is why I always tell you, you want to draft a specialist 5th round or later, be my guest, because I don't give a shit about the 5th round or later, right? If you find a diamond in the rough in the 5th round, that's great drafted, because you're supposed to hit on your 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and you're not supposed to hit on your 4th round pick, but damn it, I expect you to hit on your 4th round pick once every 2 to 3 years, right? So I expect you to hit on your 1st, 2nd, and 3rd round picks. And that's why the hit rate in the NFL in the draft for a good general manager is 30%, because those 5th and 6th and 7th round picks generally don't pan out. And that's okay. So I don't really give a shit what they do with the 6th and the 7th round pick. Draft an offensive lineman, draft a corner, draft a edge rusher, draft a running back, whatever, right? Javonte Jean-Baptiste, I told you last year, don't really care. He actually was solid for us last year. I don't expect much from him moving forward, though. There's a ceiling to me on Javonte Jean-Baptiste, the same way I felt about guys like, what's the Penn State edge rusher that we drafted, right? Shaka Toney. And the Baylor edge rusher we drafted with 2 last names. Don't remember his name. Why? Because he was a 7th round pick and he wasn't any good, right? Same thing I feel about Andre Jones Jr., 7th round pick. Don't expect much out of him. And same thing about Javonte Jean-Baptiste, 7th round pick. Don't expect much out of him. Was actually shocked that we got a sack out of him last year, and he actually didn't look half bad when he got an opportunity. So what I'm telling you is the only picks that really truly matter for me in this year's draft right now, 1st, 2nd, 4th. We got 3 picks, okay, to really make it count and add guys that can actually add value in 2025. So in my mind, our general manager, Adam Peters, is trying to minimize how many positions we got to go hunting after in the draft. And he's doing a magnificent job of limiting how many positions. Receiver was one of those positions where we're kind of looking like, not really sure we got enough. Now you're like, okay, if Michael Gallup is healthy, which we have to assume he's fully healthy. He sat out of football last year. So assuming he's fully healthy and fully motivated, which again, if he wants to, he's in the same position as Deebo Samuel. He's playing for his NFL life. If he wants a contract after this season, Michael Gallup has to play well. Because if he doesn't play well this season, and he gets to the point where we get to week 11 and he's not getting snaps or he's not even being active on the roster on game days, guess what? More likely than not, his NFL career is over. So he's got to be extra motivated or he's back to the couch for him. So you should be getting an extremely motivated Michael Gallup. And you think it's a coincidence that they're giving all these guys 1-year deals? Someone asked me the other day, you think this is a motivating ploy or tactic, or are they just going to look to address these positions in the draft? And I'm like, it's a combination of both, right? Like, one, you don't want to overinvest and get guys that are aging, that are older. That's number one. But 2, you do want to motivate guys. You do want to motivate guys with 1-year deals, right? If you want to continue getting a check, you want to continue to stay in this league, you got to prove it. And again, you're not just proving it to us, you're proving it to the other 31 teams in the league that you still get it done. And you deserve to be on a roster still getting an NFL check. So Gallup is going to be highly motivated. Deebo Samuel is going to be highly motivated. And, KJ Osborne is going to be highly motivated. And so I think that's a room that is improved from a talent and production standpoint. Now it's just about executing. And Gallup said he already FaceTimed Jaden Daniels. They're already, gonna, have exchanged numbers and are gonna link up so that they can get some off-season work in together, try to build some rapport there. So I like the move. I don't hate it. And we all thought we were getting another veteran on this roster outside of the building. Remember, I told you we were gonna sign 2 of our guys back. I didn't think one of them would be KJ Osborne, but I told you Noah Brown was one, and I thought the other would be OZ. Well, OZ's in Chicago, and KJ Osborne is here. So they did exactly what I thought they were going to do, which was bring back 2 of the guys that were here last year and then go get a veteran outside, because I didn't think they were going to draft with the limited resources we have in the draft. I didn't think they want to spend one of our picks in the draft at the receiver position, right? Well, we had all these lists of names of guys that we were interested in. Michael Gallup wasn't even remotely close to being on that list, but he ended up being the extra veteran that they went and got outside of the building. So now I think the receiver room is complete. That's 6 receivers right there. Again, I don't think that just because we have 6 guys that could make this roster, you don't look at the receiver position in the draft, because if you're sitting there at 61 in the 2nd round and the best value is a wide receiver, I bet you any amount of money Adam Peters will take that receiver if that's the best value at 61. So I don't think this stops you from taking a receiver, but it puts you in a position where if you get to 61 and it's running back or wide receiver and you love both of those players and they're of equal value and you feel just as good about one as the other and you haven't taken a running back yet, it makes the decision all that much easier. Take the running back. We're good at receiver right now, right? So, and same thing can be said for any other position. If it's corner, because we still need another corner. We only have 4 corners that we think are roster ready, right? So, and we're going to talk about this tonight. We're still going to have a big show tonight because we're really going to go through the roster with a fine-tooth comb. This changes some things at the receiver position roster-wise. But again, to me, this is just another example of Adam Peters putting us in a position where we don't have to have a particular position in the draft by going out and adding another veteran at the receiver position. You really don't need a receiver in the draft now, right? So really feels like running back, edge rusher, and corner are your 3 biggest needs. Well, you got 3 picks that you can knock out all 3 of those needs with, right? You don't need anything else. You don't need tight end. You don't need receiver. You don't need tackle after going out and getting Laramie Tunsil. Could you use a tackle? Sure. And if Josh Simmons, and I keep saying this, if Josh Simmons and the medical checks out and teams allow him to fall to 29, I would seriously consider taking him at 29, right? If you're the Commanders. That's a guy that would have been a top 10 pick had the injury not occurred. He'd probably be the first tackle taken in this draft. So if the medical checks out on him, and let's say he's not ready to go for the first 6 weeks, so he got to start the season with pup list. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? We weren't planning on starting a rookie anyway. So that would be planning for the future. That would be a great selection if you're the Commanders. I know you want a guy that can come in and help right away at 29. Who doesn't? But when you're drafting this far back in the first round, this is what you have to rewire your brain now. We're not in the territory that we used to be, where we were drafting top half of the first round, where you want an instant impact player right away. You can draft and stash at the back end of the first round. When you're one of the best teams in football, you should be thinking about now and into the future. So, again, a lot of options for the Commanders, but I think what he's effectively done with free agency is he's narrowed down the needs list to 3 positions. Well, all we got are 3 valuable picks, first, second, and fourth. So running back, cornerback, edge, you get them in whatever order you like, whichever gives you the best value. Again, I still think we're going to move back in the draft at least once, if not at 29, at 61, because those are your 2 most valuable assets to move back and get the kind of draft return and capital that you're looking for. Because I think they want a 3rd round pick. That's where the value is in this draft, is day 2. I think they want a 3rd round pick. You can acquire that by trading one of 2 picks, your first or your second. You're not going to get, obviously you're not going to get a 3rd round pick by trading a 4th round pick. And again, I don't really give a shit about any picks behind the 4th round, to be honest with you. Yeah, 5th round, but honestly speaking, once you get to the 5th round and later, I'm like, hey, it's a crapshoot. Roll the dice. Hope it comes up nice, right? So, in my mind, the way I see this is Gallup has been brought in to compete at the receiver position. There's nothing etched in stone here, but he feels like a guy, just like KJ Osborne and Noah Brown feel like guys that are going to be on this roster. The real question you should be asking yourself is, what does this mean for Luke McCaffrey? Guy you spent the 3rd round pick on, because again, and when we start looking at the depth chart and we start looking at these guys, and look, Luke can come out, assert himself next year and be ahead of all of these dudes, right? He could be the 3rd receiver behind Deebo, right? When it's all said and done. But what it feels like right now is he ain't going to be ahead of Noah Brown. If Gallup is Michael Gallup that we knew before the injury, the guy that was locked in, he ain't going to be ahead of him. And KJ Osborne that was in Minnesota was a damn good receiver. He shouldn't be ahead of him either. So the question you got to ask yourself is, where does Luke McCaffrey fit into all of this? We still don't have a damn punt returner, nor a kick returner, unless they're going to put Austin Eckler back there to return kickoffs again. We still don't have a return man. And I know Luke did a solid job. I really don't want his ass back there. That shit is stiff as hell. There's no wiggle, right? He ain't making nobody miss. If you block it up well, he can run fast in a straight line, but he ain't making nobody miss. The change of direction is awful. I would really like something fluid back there. We still don't have a punt returner. There's no Jamison Crowder to save us this year. There's no Olamide Zaccheaus. Who the hell is returning punts? I don't know. Stop asking. Because none of the dudes that they've signed And I was somehow hoping that that last receiver spot would be filled by a guy that would bring you some deep speed. That is not Michael Gallup. That is not Michael Gallup. So, such is life. Anyway, let's talk about Deebo Samuel's press conference. Deebo had about an 8-minute presser where he addressed the media, talked about why Washington, and he talked about his relationship with Adam Peters, talked about winning being one of the biggest reasons. Like, again, we can sit here and talk about Jaden Daniels, we can talk about Adam Peters, we can talk about DQ, we can talk about all of those factors why guys choose to come to Washington now. Every guy that has come here has talked about Jaden Daniels, and some of it because they were asked about Jaden Daniels, but it's a huge part of why guys choose Washington. However, Deebo made it abundantly clear, I'm here because you guys won last year. I'm not here to be trying to help somebody turn some shit around. I came from a culture where all we did was win. We talked about this with the 49ers. They made it to the NFC Championship game 4 years in a row. From 2020, 4 out of 5 years, right? From 2019 all the way to 2023, they were in the NFC Championship game 4 times, but the only year not getting there was 2020, right? They were in the Super Bowl in 19, the NFC Championship game in 2021, lost to the Rams. In the NFC Championship game in 2022, lost to the Eagles. And then in the Super Bowl in 2023, lost to the Chiefs again for the second time. So all he really has known is winning in this league. And wherever he's been, usually winning follows. So you love to have guys that know what it means to win and how to get the job done in this league. And so that's part of why he chose Washington. Hey, y'all went to the NFC Championship game last year. I feel like I could be one of those pieces that help push you over the top. So that was one of the reasons. And he talked about this, and this is something that I always try to take a look at when you're talking about guys relocating, is close to home, right? He talked about family, having family in Baltimore. He went to school in South Carolina. If I'm not mistaken, that's where he's from. So, we're close to South Carolina, right? It's just a hop, skip, and a jump to get to South Carolina. And so, family in Baltimore, family probably in South Carolina. That's a lot closer than San Francisco where he was playing. So those are factors that play into the decision-making process as well. But when it's all said and done, he talked about, the winning culture like they established last year. Yeah, he knew about Jaden Daniels. He said, look, me and Brandon Ayuk, that's my dog. And all he did was talk about Jaden Daniels. When he was in college, yeah, my dog, my boy about to win. He's like, Ayuk and Jaden are like best friends. He's like, all Ayuk talked about was Jaden Daniels. Like, yo, he about to win the Heisman. My boy about to win the Heisman. My boy about to do this. My boy about to do that. We saw it on IG Live a lot of times with Ayuk last year when he's going through the contract stuff, when he was constantly, FaceTiming Jaden, and, they were always talking. And so that's not a surprise that he knew of Jaden Daniels and was probably keeping closer tabs on him than you would normally see a guy that plays for a different team doing. But he also talked about what he brings to the table. Talked about him bringing a dog mentality. He was asked about his weight, and he was, he just swatted that shit away like, all right, bro. He's like, that shit don't move me. And he left it at that. But he's lying, right? You don't think he hears the conversation about him he even addressed it on social media about his weight and what he played at last year. And trust me, he hears the noise. Players always never, ever believe a guy. Jonathan Allen used to sit here and lie to our face every week when he said, I don't have social media. He might not have social media, but guess what? It don't matter if you got it or not. That information is going to find you. The noise always finds you, right? You got to be super plugged out to not get all of the noise that's surrounding you. Jonathan Allen always knew what the hell was being said about him and the team, right? He would always talk about, I'm not on social media. I don't know what's being said. Bullshit. Because when somebody would bring it to his doorstep, he already knew what the hell they were talking about. So somebody's going to get you that information. You might not be on social media, but somebody that's close to you is on social media, and they see the shit, and they bringing it to your doorstep. Trust me. As a guy that stays off of social media for the most part, shit always ends up finding me anyway, right? And trust me, players have egos, and trust me, Deebo knows that people's talking about his weight. Deebo knows that people also are calling him washed, and he's out to prove all of those people wrong. He also addressed his contract situation, and he said he really appreciated Adam Peters. And honestly, if you want me to tell you why I think it took so long, because remember, we kept saying, what's taking Deebo so long to come in here and do his press conference? Everybody's done it. He was the first guy we traded for. What's taking this shit so long? It was that restructure. That he didn't sign until today, right? That's what he was waiting on. He wanted guaranteed money. So Adam Peters sat down with his agent, ironed out the particulars. We got the news yesterday that they were restructuring his deal, giving him some guaranteed money, giving him some opportunities to make some incentives should he reach certain milestones throughout the course of the year, and his deal could get up to $20 million. And so now all of the numbers make sense. That's why he signed, and that's why we finally got a presser with him. So that was the main reason. That was the holdup with Deebo, was he was trying to rework his current situation before he signed anything with the Commanders. Obviously, he didn't have to sign anything. It was a trade, right? He was already had a contract in place. He just needed to show up and talk to the media, which is why I was like, what's taking so long? He was waiting for that restructure so he could sign that, and then he was going to meet with the media, which is what took place today. So he said you're going to get a dog competitor, a guy that is going to come in here. He talked about Terry and their relationship. He's like, we both came in the 2019 draft, so we know of each other. We've both been in the league 6 years, going on year 7. Everybody calling us old. Again, that's the noise. He hears the shit, right? He hear people calling him washed and fat and overweight. You don't think he hears that? Yeah, he's like, it don't move me. It do. It is moving you. Trust me. We've seen the workout videos, and I'm not saying he wasn't posting workout videos on social media when he was with the 49ers. He probably was doing that stuff. Bottom line is, he's going to be highly motivated. He said he can't wait to work with Terry. He said, he knows Terry's a dog. And, we talked about this on the Commanders Kings stream last night. And I said, I know y'all seen the post somebody had on social media where they listed Terry McLaurin's number 2 receiver his entire career. Every year it's been a different guy. It's going to be a different guy this year. I don't think he's had the same number 2 receiver for any year of his career. It's been a different guy every year, that's been the second leading receiver on the team. The closest we might have ever come was Curtis Samuel in 2022 and 2023 is my guess. Curtis Samuel probably was the second best receiver those 2 years because he didn't do anything in 2021 because he was injured that year. But 2022 and 2023, he was pretty solid. That's my guess. That's my best guess as to one guy that might have been the second best receiver 2 years in a row with Terry. But in any event, the list is long and it's nasty, and Deebo is looking to hopefully solve that at least for 1 year. So yeah, Deebo's ready to come in here and work. Now, there was a funny exchange. Shout out to my girl, Miss Perry, Condo P, aka Miss P, aka Playoff P. She sent me a message during the presser, and it was a funny exchange. So they asked Deebo about his interaction with Adam Peters throughout this process, trying to, to facilitate the trade with San Francisco. And Deebo, to just close the chapter on San Francisco, he said it was tough. He went in there, talked to Kyle, and he said it was tough. He said, I wrote in the Players Tribune article that, it was a hard decision to move on from San Francisco because that's all he's ever known. He was like, he had a really good relationship with Kyle. He's like, look, I'd been with Kyle for so long. That was my coach at the Senior Bowl, bro. He's like, all I knew was Kyle Shanahan. So, he said those were tough conversations. That was a tough situation, but, it was time to part ways. And they asked him about Adam Peters in his dialogue with Adam Peters. He was like, nah, I ain't talked to him. My agent handled all of that. And then you saw that like jokerish grin from him, like, yeah, y'all tried to get me, like on some tampering shit, right? Because, a player ain't supposed to be talking to another team if he's under contract with another team. Like, that's not supposed to take place unless, you're your own agent. But again, and he was given permission to seek a trade. However, they tried to get him, and you could tell that he was briefed like, hey, if they try to get you on some you talking to Adam Peters shit, you shut that down, bro. You say all of that was directed to my agent. I had no discussions with him, just in case they try to come back on some tampering shit down the road. And then at the end of the press conference, if you watched it all the way through, there was a hot mic. So they ended the press conference, but the mic was still on. As soon as he got off, you could hear Deebo talking to some people off to the side. Like, yeah, somebody said to him, yeah, they tried to get you, you see? And he was like, yeah, trying to ask if I talked to AP. I told him I talked to my agent, yada, yada, yada. So, you know, you got to watch out because, you know, look, media members are going to media member, right? Their job is to ask the questions, to try to get stuff for their stories that they're trying to write. And your job is to protect the brand. So you got to be careful in what you say, how you say it, because the last thing you want to do is say something that then perks up the ears of the NFL. And next thing you know, they're coming in here talking about, hey, there was tampering between the Commanders and the 49ers, and we taking your 6th-round pick. Look, bitch, we already only got 5 picks. Leave my little 6th-round pick alone, okay? Next thing you know, they come in, hey, tampering took place. Remember they slapped the Eagles on the wrist for some tampering bullshit like a year ago and took one of their like late draft picks? Hey, I need all my shits. I only got 5 of them hoes. I need all of them, all right? Leave my damn picks alone. So I'm glad they coached him up, and he executed the play beautifully. And Deebo Samuel is now a member of the Washington Commanders officially. So that wide receiver room, I'm not telling you that it's complete, but if this was a loading bar, that bitch feels like it's at 98% right now. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. So anyway, I digress. Let's get to the comment section and see what you guys have to say. Marks, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Marks writes, the Washington 29ers. That would be more accurate if we had more 49ers players here. We really don't have a lot of 49ers players on the roster. I mean, I'm trying to think who else came from San Francisco here. Because we thought there was going to be this mass exodus, which it was, and then this influx of 49ers players coming from San Francisco when Adam Peters showed up on the scene. But it was more so Dallas players, not 49ers players. Now, if you said, you know, the Washington Cowboys, if you said something like that, that would have made more sense because we got an awful lot of Cowboy players, ex-Cowboy players on this roster. So I don't think there's any other ex-49ers. McNichols did have a brief spell with them. We probably got more Patriots, ex-Patriots on the roster than we do ex-49ers, is my guess. But anyway, video channel, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Video channel writes, Gallup and Bobby Price starting week 1. You like to press my buttons, don't you, video channel? You know, one of the guys that I've been using as my new, Casey Toohill has been Bobby Price. The name when I want to be condescending and I want to be an asshole at the cornerback position, Bobby Price is the name I always throw out there. They really like Bobby Price, right? You know, when I would always say, who's gonna stop the run? Who's gonna get to the quarterback? Casey Toohill, you know. Who's going to be our 5th corner? Bobby Price. It might damn well be Bobby Price. Who knows? We'll see. I better stop saying that shit because right now, nothing's out of bounds, right? Michael Gallup won't be starting at receiver come week 1, but I got a sense that he will be a contributor come week 1. That's what it feels like right now. Again, this wide receiver room feels pretty much set at this point. I don't see them adding in any more players, especially via the draft, because if you draft a guy, we only got 5 draft picks. All 5 of those dudes have no reason not to make our roster, by the way. Again, so I'd like to think that there will be emphasis put on that 6th and 7th round pick as guys that they want to be able to come in here and have develop on this roster. Again, they could get cut and end up on the practice squad, but again, we're not at the point where our roster is so complete that we only have 5 spots available on the back end. Like, we're going to have plenty of roster spots available. Guys are going to have opportunities to compete. And so I expect all 5 of these draft picks to make the roster. So, you know, we'll see what happens. You draft a receiver in the 6th round, he's got a legitimate shot at making this football team, right? So then who would you cut? Again, nobody's making real money. So everybody is, Noah Brown is on this team. Like I said, if there's one guy out of the 3 free agent receivers that they've signed, it's Noah Brown that's here. Like, he's not going anywhere. He produced at a high level for us. They love Noah Brown. They love what he brings to the table. And he's the only receiver that offers us height, some sort of size. None of the other receivers in the room do that. So Noah Brown is as good a lock as anybody on this roster at the receiver position, right? Not named Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel and Luke McCaffrey. So I'd say it's 4 guys that we know are here. And if you wanted to have a conversation about the final 2 spots, right now, those spots belong to KJ Osborne and Michael Gallup. But Bobby Price could be your 5th corner come week 1. We'll see. Chris Devers, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, CD, right? It's been a minute. It has been, CD. It has been. I like that you guys have hope. Yeah, we have hope. I mean, hold on. Let me stop you right there, CD. Because you talking to me, I feel like I don't like your tone of voice right now. I feel like you're talking to me like I'm some sort of chump, like I wasn't in the NFC Championship game, something you haven't experienced since the mid-90s. So I feel like you really need to watch the way you're talking to me right now, CD. I feel some type of way, okay? Like, I heard your jokes. I feel like your tone is a little bit off. I feel like you need to check yourself right now. I should be asking you, do you have hope right now? Signing old guys from NFC lore of the past, like Miles Sanders, and trading for other teams' leftover garbage that they put out on the sidewalk, like Kaiir Elam, or who's the receiver you traded for from Carolina last year, right? Out here signing Javonte Williams and shit. Hey, you might have some hope. You sound like you have hope. We were in the NFC Championship game last year. Where were you? Huh? Where your ass was at when we was taking attendance in the playoffs? Oh, okay. Watch how you talk to me. Talk to me nice. JLG, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy JLG writes, what it do? What it do, JLG? Question, do you think Jaden is disappointed not getting Ayuk but trading for Deebo instead? No, I don't think. Look, first of all, it's not like Ayuk isn't coming off an injury. Had he been totally healthy, that might have been the move, right? But being that he's coming off of an injury, that just doesn't feel like a move anybody would be willing to make at this current juncture. Why would I trade for damaged goods, not knowing how those goods are going to respond to the injury that he just suffered? And it's a significant one at that. So I don't think he's disappointed. And look, that opportunity may still arise next year, right? Ayuk goes out, shows that he's back. Next year, let's say he plays in 8 games next year, 10 games next year for the 49ers. And you see towards the end of that run, hey, Ayuk looks like he's fully healthy. He's back. And the 49ers are like, yeah, he's still on the block, though. If y'all want him, come get him. Deebo's on a 1-year deal. They could go get him next year. Who's to say, right? But at the end of the day, I don't think Jaden is really concerned with personnel. Like, he's not at the point of his career where he's out here, trying to help the organization with personnel decisions. He's going into the 2nd year of his career. He's just happy that they're upgrading the talent around him. That's all he cares about. And they did that with Deebo Samuel. So I don't think he's disappointed at all. Chris Devers, my guy CD. Double up. My guy CD writes, Quinn stole Dallas backups last season, LOL, and Dallas won the first game and put Daniels out in the second. I'm excited that you guys are pushing Dallas. # we them boys. Again, I'm going to ask you this question again because I don't know if you answered it after I asked you. When we were taking attendance in the postseason last year, where your ass was at? Huh? We beat you with our backup quarterback last year. I know you can say the same, right? You beat us with Cooper Rush. That's cool, right? I always like to look at these situations, and I look at it as we're playing chess and you're playing checkers, CD. You know, we did it to the Giants 2 years ago, right? When their season was tanking and they were on a crash course to go get a Jaden Daniels-like prospect. You know what we said? Nah, bruh. Come get this win with Tommy DeVito so you can feel like you still got a shot to make this incredible run and make it to the postseason, win 3 straight games, and all of a sudden you're drafting 6th and you got nothing. That's what we did to the Giants 2 years ago. You know what we did to your funky ass last year? Just when you thought it was safe to tank out and end up with a high-level prospect, we said, nah, come get this meaningless win with Cooper Rush so you can think you got a shot to get high to make the playoffs. And what did your ass go do? Win 3 or 4 games in a row and F up your draft stock. Now you're drafting 12th. You thought you was going to get some top 5 shit. Hell no. You see what we did over there? We still won 12 games. We still went out and won every game after we lost to y'all. The rest of the season, regular season, and went all the way to the championship game. What did you do? Nothing. Ain't nobody worried about y'all, man. Get on my level, ho. That's what we saying to Cowboys fans. Get on my level, ho. You my guy, though, CD. But I just got to remind you, it's levels to this shit, CD. You're underneath me. You're beneath me. My quarterback's better than yours. My organization's better than yours. You got to catch us. Catch up. You're losing. Coming here talking to me like this was 2 years ago. Like we some sort of peon. This ain't the Ron Rivera coached Commanders. You better goddamn lower your voice. Take that bass out your voice. And you better goddamn deflate your chest. You talking to me? What's wrong with you? You still my boy, though. Captain Obvious. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes. Mark saying we equals 29. See, shoo, right over my damn head. In that case, good one, Marks. Good one. That's a really good one. How many 29-year-olds and 30-year-olds have we signed this all season? Our average age of the free agents we signed is 29. That's a good one, Marks. Thank you, Captain Obvious, for stating the obvious that I just clearly missed. It went straight over my head. Hey, charge it to my heart, bro. All right, or charge it to my head, not my heart. All right. So, my bad. My bad. Yeah, we are the 29ers in that case. We signed all of these 29 and 30 and 31-year-olds, and the average age of a free agent that we signed is 29 years old. Yeah. We definitely, we the 29ers. Good one, Marks, and thank you, Captain Obvious, for stating the obvious. Marks, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. What's the name of your infused gummy sponsor again, Lou? Can't remember. It's funny that you asked. I was actually going to throw that into the stream tonight. So watch the show tonight. But it is I want you to use, if you're gonna get some, I want you to use the link. I'm gonna provide that link tonight on the stream tonight. So if you tune in tonight, it'll be in the description of the video tonight, right? So I don't want to just tell you what it is. You go on the site, but you don't use my link, because that's how they track it. So if you're going to purchase, get you 20% off or whatever the percentage is. And also you help me when you do that. So wait till tonight is all I ask, right? Even if you're not going to be live tonight when I'm live, it'll be on the show from tonight. And all the information you need, you can go in there and grab it. But I appreciate you for asking. Thank you, Marks. Really appreciate you. But it's crazy you brought it up, because I was going to do it for this video. I was like, nah, I'll just save it for later on tonight, right? So that's what I'm ultimately going to do. Mr. Breeze, 68. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Mr. Breeze, 68. You know what? Thank you for the super chat. You know what? Now that you just said something, what the hell? Why not? I might as well do it right now. Let me add it in here, and I might as well just do it right now. Shit, you brought it up, and I was going to do it tonight, but might as well just knock it out right now. Since you asked and you're here, why wait? That's dumb. I shouldn't wait. I should just do it right now. So that's what I'm going to do. So we'll get a word from one of our sponsors, and we'll come back on the other side, and we'll continue through the rest of your comments.
It's your man Louie T here on behalf of the beautiful people over at VIA who have blessed me with some awesome hemp-based products that I want to share with you. I'm going to talk about some of my favorites today. And the products range from 0 milligrams of THC, so no psychoactive or intoxicating effects, to 100 milligrams of THC, which is going to send you to the moon. If that's what you're looking for, knock yourself out. That's too much for me, but again, to each its own, right? So let's go through these products quickly, and I'll talk about them. And the first one I'm going to talk about is Flow State, and this is one that has no THC in it. This is a focus-driven product here, and I love this one because it gives me the focus that I need sometimes when I may be lagging, I may be a little bit tired from the night before, don't have the juice, the energy that I need. This gives me that focus, that extra kick that I need to get my projects done. This one here is Elevate. Mango Tango is the flavor, and all of the flavors are so delicious, man. For someone who doesn't eat a lot of candy, being vegan, and all of these products are vegan, by the way, so you know I love that as well. I don't get a lot of sweets. These things give me just the right amount of kick of sweet and also the intended effect that I'm looking for. This is a microdose option, 2 milligrams of THC. And this one, again, Elevate. Looking to get you high, if that's what you're looking for, this can do it. And again, it ranges from 0 THC, milligrams of THC, all the way to 100. So you can go with what works for you. Now, having some trouble sleeping, Dreams is one that'll help you out. My wife takes the non-THC version of this sometimes when she's having trouble sleeping, and it works like a charm. And so again, if you're looking for something to help you go to sleep, a sleeping aid, you want to feel a little buzz while you're doing it, that's a microdose option that I just showed you, or you can just get the non-THC version. Now, my two personal favorites, and you'll know why in a second. High Love is my first. This one is 5 milligrams of THC. And again, you can get that all the way up to 100 if you so choose. But you know why I like this one, right? Me and the wife enjoy this one a lot. Yeah? Huh? Yeah? You get where I'm going with this? Maybe? Yeah? No? Maybe? So, I don't know. But the other one is Cloud9, and that's self-explanatory, okay? Cloud9 takes you higher, right? When I'm on the couch on a Friday and I just want to mellow out and I just want to watch TV and relax, this is my go-to right here. Love it, feels great, and it gets the job done every single time. So what says you? You interested? Link up above will take you straight to the VIA website. Use my promo code LouieT for 15% off of the purchase. And again, if you've never been to the VIA website or you've never purchased from VIA before, you'll also get a free gift with your purchase as a first-time user. So again, a lot of benefits. Once again, link is above, right? That'll take you straight to the site. Use my promo code LouieT, and that'll get you an additional 15% off. And if it's your first time, you'll also get a free gift with it as well. So what are you waiting on, man? Looking to have a good time, looking to chill, or just looking for an intended effect. Maybe you need to focus a little bit more. Maybe you're having trouble sleeping. Maybe you need some relief. Maybe you went to the gym. Maybe you got a previous injury and you're looking for some relief. They've got all of those products and then some on their site. Check them out and tell them your man Louie T sent you. You won't be sorry. Trust me.
All right, so we back like cook crack. Big shout out to VIA for sponsoring this stream. And again, look, man, it's about to be that time of the year where it ain't a lot going on. Get you some of these gummies, man. Hit you a vacation and just relax, right? I know I'm finna do that. Anyway, we stopped off at Mr. Breeze 68. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for the super chat, Mr. Breeze 68. John Perez, my guy, JP. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Lou, good to see you as always. Likewise, JP, always great to hear from you. Saw that we got Gallup. Meh. Not even a gimme that he's on the week 1 roster. You're not wrong about that. But I would still draft Burden or Golden. Well, Golden will not be there. Burden will definitely be there. I told you, I remember I made the video over on the Commanders Kings channel where I said I gave you the option of like 5 guys to choose from. if they were there at 29, which one would you take? And I guaranteed you that 2 of those guys would be there. And I didn't give you which 2, but I said you could theorize which 2 would be there. One of those guys was Burden. Okay. He's going to be there at 29. I think he's going to be there in the second round. Now, will he be there at 61 where we select in the second round? No, I doubt it. But he'll be there at 29. So they can choose him if they like. I don't see them choosing Luther Burden III at 29. But Golden, if he were there, I would absolutely race up to the podium or the phone and put the call in, right? Nobody races up to turn the card in. This isn't 1987 at the draft. But I would definitely put the call in immediately, like, hey, we taking Matthew Golden at 29. He's not going to be there, though. He's got a chance to be the number 1 receiver taken in this draft. But as I said already, and I've talked about this, there is no consensus number 1 wide receiver. And if you think just because they signed KJ Osborne and they signed Michael Gallup, and I don't know what Osborne's deal is. I'd have to look and see what that contract actually looks like, but there's not a ton of guaranteed money in there. I assure you of that. We know Gallup signed for basically the league minimum, the vet minimum. So they're not tied to these guys. They could absolutely draft a receiver in the first, second, or fourth round. And that would take the place of one, because they're not keeping 7 receivers. The conversation is either 5 or 6. And the likelihood is they keep 6. I'm trying to think, last year on game day, did they actually dress 6 or did they only dress 5? I think the number was always 6 because they were always dressing Terry, OZ, Jamison Crowder dressed most weeks. Because remember, when he was out, we were dressing 5, I think. And then it made me think they're only going to dress 5. I think the number was 5. And it was always one guy that wasn't active. Because Crowder wasn't active for a while because he was injured. And then when he came back, I think Noah Brown then ended up getting hurt. And then I remember saying, well, they got KJ Osborne now. So somebody's going to end up not being active. And it ended up being KJ Osborne who wasn't active. So I think the number 6, they usually keep 5 on the active roster on a weekly basis, on the game day roster, rather. So we'll see. I still think that the 6 guys that they have right now are going to be your 6 guys heading into week 1 next year. That's what I think. But you're right. This doesn't stop you from taking a receiver by any means. JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. My guy JP writes, my dream scenario is Amari and Hampton falling close enough to 29 for a trade up. If not, I'd take one of the Buckeye running backs in round number 2. I'm going to give you my thoughts on the running back position. I am through the first 7 on my list. So I will have, because I'm going to put the running back position out in installments because there's just so many of them. And I don't want to try to talk about all of them in one video. The video would be 18 million hours long. So instead, I'm going to put them out in installments. I think I'm going to have like 3 or 4 running back installments where I talk about different tiers of backs for me in this draft. And so you're going to be interested to see what I have to say about Amari and Hampton. Chris Devers, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. And let me just say this before I move on. I don't see us being in a position to trade up. I don't think this is the draft you trade up for in any way, which is why I don't see us getting out of 29 necessarily. But I don't think this, we only have 5 draft picks. Again, unless Adam Peters, who I just can't fix my brain to see happening, is punting on the entire 2025 draft, essentially, which I don't see happening because he's a draft guy. Even if he doesn't love the draft, the draftable players, he's still going to try to find a needle in a haystack, a diamond in the rough. There's no way he's just going to completely punt on the 2025 draft. Because if you trade up, Unless you're giving away next year, and I don't see him giving away any more picks. He literally did that for Laramie Tunsil because he understands what Tunsil means for this team moving forward. So he was willing to give up picks in next year's draft to do so, to help us try to win now and into the future, I may add. Same thing with Marshawn Lattimore. He gave up picks in this year's draft because he tried to help us win last year and moving forward into the future. Same thing, right? It's not just for 1 year when you trade for a guy and give up multiple picks in the next year's draft. It's because he wants that guy to help us now, but also into the future. I can't see him giving up more picks next year to go up this year. When this is a loaded running back draft class, there's no reason to trade up to get a running back. The only guy that, to me, and I'm not going to say too much more until I start talking running back, but after watching what I've watched, the only guy that is worth trading up for in this draft is Genty. No other running back is worth trading up for. Not one. Not in the first round, at least. Now, if you get close in the second round, hey, knock yourself out. Knock yourself out. But to me, it's too many draftable backs, too many guys that, you know, have skill sets that allow you to just sit tight and get you one. Chris Devers, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Chris Devers writes, see, this season I was out last season, fam stuff. Well, it's good to see you back, man. It's good to see you back. And I look forward to chopping it up with you. You my guy. You know that. LT, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. LT writes, what if y'all still can't beat a healthy Hurts again? What if y'all can't beat us with your super team roster? What if you can't beat us with our roster? What then? Because we're making the necessary changes to put ourselves in a position. Because again, every time we play y'all, it don't change. See, this is the difference between us, LT. When teams play y'all, the first goal is to stop Saquon Barkley. When teams play us, the object, right? The first objective is to stop 5. That's the difference between us. Your quarterback is an afterthought. Our quarterback is the main objective. So you shouldn't be asking me, what if we can't beat a healthy Jalen? You should be asking me, what if we can't stop Saquon Barkley in that offense from running the ball? Well, then I don't know what else we can do, because we just literally went out and ran proof. Philadelphia Eagle run game proofed our defense. So we can't stop Saquon now? Shit, we're in trouble, right? Ain't nobody worried about straight jacket, bro. Not on this end. The goal, and look, this is the thing I love about straight jacket Hurts, is that when put in those positions, 9 times out of 10, he delivers. When you say, hey, make him beat us, generally he does it. But that's the goal every time you play the Eagles, is make straight jacket beat us. That's the goal every time. And it's not going to change. Because you got a better shot at beating the Eagles if you can slow down Saquon and force the pass game to beat you than you do the other way around. And letting straight jacket just be a passenger, which he was for most of the season last year. We talking about MVPs and trying to win Super Bowls over here. You already won the Super Bowl. Your quarterback won Super Bowl MVP. So I got respect for him. But when you talk about the Eagles, I'm not worried about straight jacket. Be honest with you. I'm worried about stopping Saquon Barkley. That's who kicked our ass last year. That's who kicked our ass last year. Anyway, I digress. So that was the last super chat. So we're gonna get out of here. I am going to be live later on tonight. We're gonna have a very hearty and healthy discussion about this roster and the impact of the signing that we made today and, the draft. And we've kind of had that discussion, preliminary discussions on that today already here, but we are going to continue to have those discussions later on this evening, as well as look at the rest of the roster. So be ready tonight to have those discussions. And again, I'll try to see what's going on with college basketball stuff. I won't, step on the toes of any really competitive game. My goal is to start around 9:30, but if there's a game coming down to the wire, I'm not going to step on the game's toes. I'm going to try to get into that last window of games that start right around that 9:30, 10 o'clock, 10:10 range, those West Coast games. I'm going to try to start the stream right there, so we'll be live with those games. And hopefully, if one of them gets close, we'll be live together and we can watch it together. But I'll try to make sure that 7:10, pocket of games are completed, right? Those games that come on 6:53, 7:10, those are done. And you don't have to pick between watching that and the end of that and watching me. I'll make sure that I sneak into that window of when those games end and that last window of games are just getting started. So that's the goal for tonight. But in any event, Commanders signed wide receiver Michael Gallup to a 1-year vet minimum deal. Add him to the mix. That's now 6 receivers. I think it changes your philosophical approach to the draft at the receiver position, not by eliminating receiver from the list altogether, but I do think it allows you to bypass that position if you are not satisfied or another option is provided to you in the draft. You do not have to take a receiver at this point. But again, we'll talk more about that and a ton of other, conversations later on this evening. Until then, I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. You guys have a good one. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. You guys get out of here. Get back to watching college basketball. And I'll see you guys later on tonight.